All right now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'd like to first thank
Yeah,
everybody
I'm on the
for
program.
all of this
No, I'm on the
extra.
program. Excuse me, let me just, I'm in the program. Tell them. I'm in the program. I thought this was. Okay.
Thank everybody for the recognition and everything. I'm gonna tell you, I'm definitely overrated. What put me in this position is the seat of our church. The seat of our church is like a lot of our churches. It's women. And so when the discussion came up in Sunday school a couple of weeks ago, I asked the ladies, what would they like to see of the men? And they said simply, see them in church. So, this is probably a talk for a later time, because the men that are in church right now are the men that come to church.
All right.
It's still a strategic talk, because it is the men that go to church that need to bring the men that don't to the church.
All right.
So I put this little piece together and tried to illustrate that Jesus told little short stories in the form of parables to better illustrate the content of his messages.
Mm-hmm.
Well, an author, James Boswell, did a biography on Samuel Johnson. And what he remembered was Samuel Johnson said that the one day that I went fishing with my father was the most significant day of my life with my father. Later on, he got a hold of his dad's diary, and he went to see what the dad had put in his diary, his quote of that day. The dad had put in there, went fishing with Sam, wasted day. Okay. We have been so blessed with so much. And our young men that are going to church, they can reach out to other young men. But when we put effort toward embellishing or making somebody else's existence better, enhancing the quality of their lives. One thing that I know about Brother Powell, when he had his stint in, I think the church was in Durant, he made several trips up there going to the young men of the church's ball games. Okay, what does this do? Where that individual is concerned, he had a parent plus there, because he knew if nobody else rooted for him, his pastor was behind him.
All right now.
Other kids see that and think, I like that. This is who we are. So I like to build my talk from that. The scriptures that Elder Williams read were indicative of the point that I'm trying to drive home here. Dr. Martin Luther King did a sermon at Mount Pisgah Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois in 1967. And the sermon was entitled, Why Jesus Called the Man a Fool. He illustrated it by telling a situation in Atlanta. A man got a phone call, and he picks the phone up. It's from Highway Patrol. And they say, your wife has been in an accident. His first question was, Well, how much damage was done to the Cadillac? Okay, now, Martin Luther King said it was not a travesty to have a Cadillac. The problem is when that is the first question. The first question was not, how is my wife doing? Is she okay? Was anybody else hurt? How many people did it involve? But the first question was, how much damage did it do to my Cadillac? The problem with that is, we all have Cadillacs in our lives. This is what life presents. You know, we all have distraction. Cadillacs in the form of our jobs, finances, appointments, obligations. All of these are that same car. So, to illustrate my point, I brought show and tell. I wish Brother Powell, my aunt, was here, school teacher, because she's all about visual problems. She's all about that. She's school teacher by trade, 30 years profession. She's just taking the necessary precautions today because of the virus thing. And she is mid-70s, make no mistake. Grandpa used to have a lot of chairs set up under the porch, but they didn't sit out like this all the time. Brother Powell, he would get them out like this, and he'd take time to line them up, and he'd have a little rag, and he'd take that little rag and he'd dust them off individually, and it was years and years. I watched him do it, but it was years and years before I realized what he was doing. But when I did, I just wanted confirmation. So I asked him, I said, Grandpa, don't mind me asking, but you got about 8 or 9 chairs you sit out every morning, all through the week and other times. Why do you do that? And he said, well, if somebody was to come by to swap with me, I wanted them to feel at home, and I wanted to have plenty of furnishing so that everybody would have a place to sit. Okay, I get it. Okay, now, my visual aid is something to assist us in being able to get through, because when the question was asked by the ladies, what does it take to get men in church? A lot of our churches would go extinct if it wasn't for women. Whatever church you go to, look at the demographics of the patrons there, male to female. And you see what you have. Now, Reverend Hampton, I thought about the question, and my answer to that is to fortify relationships with other men. We have to be resourceful and innovative when we do that. We go to church, but we all know men that don't. We have to find ways to fortify those relationships to the point where we can attract those guys to church. They know what we say, but it has to be more of a thing of what we do. What do we do? What's the next step? And so, one thing that I've learned dealing with animals.
Oh God. Oh God.
Don't pull it out.
Oh God.
You ain't got a snake there, do you?
Is it a snake?
This man loves snakes. Oh, man, don't let it be a snake, man.
Is it a snake?
What if I promise you that it's one of God's creatures? Would that work?
Yes.
Don't let it be a snake, man. No. Don't let it be. This man got snakes in his house.
It's not.
Well, Reverend Hampton not afraid.
Reverend Hampton's 2 or 3 feet back.
Exactly.
So, when you, and we talk about being resourceful, whenever there's an opportunity, there is a bridge there. Now, whether we choose to cross it or not, that's kind of where we are this morning. If we're going to fortify those relationships with men, if we're going to fortify that relationship with men, then we have to be willing to bridge that gap. We've got to reach out. A lot of times, Brother Powell, you can preach an eloquent sermon, and when you leave there, you pass a patron on the road that is having an issue.
Mm-hmm.
He's a patron, you know him. But what about the guy that's kind of off the beaten path that may have an issue? See, he's still an individual that's worthy of being rescued.
I hear you.
So those are the type people that I'm talking about. And when you speak in terms of what Martin Luther King said when he said that man was a fool, the reason they call him a fool because he maximized the minimum and minimized the maximum. His technology had outdistanced his theology.
I hear you.
And his mentality had outrun his morality.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an individual, we have to go back to that scripture that Elder Williams read on Titus, second chapter, verse 7. Show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching, show integrity and dignity. Okay. That teaching's got to be fortified with action. You got to go forth and make this happen. You got a young man out there fixing a flat side of the road. You pull over. What can I do? You know, if it's at night, can I hold a flashlight? You know, can I pass you a tube? You know, this is where we have got to be. Now, why is relationships important? Because I want to show you that in zoos, let's take some of the more famous zoos, like in our country, the Bronx Zoo, or the San Diego Zoo. In the San Diego Zoo, they have a walrus calf. He's called a calf because he's about the size of cattle when he's born. He's born at 300 pounds with the propensity of getting 3,000 pounds. So what they do to that little walrus, they handle him by his tusks the whole time. Never take a hand off his head because they don't want to be head shy, they don't want to be aggressive. So that at the pinnacle of his size and maturity, they'll be able to catch a 3,000 pound animal by one of those big tusks and lead him around. We can do that with young men. We can do that with men outside the church. But we have to establish ourselves as being
Work it, Frank, work it.
Okay.
I see it.
the show of integrity, the show of dignity. And then you have to reflect back to 1 Corinthians, like Elder Williams said, be watchful, stand firm in your faith, act like men, be strong, let all that you do be done in love. See, the thing with being able to do it in love, now you can critique and criticize. I can't say nothing to that guy over there on the side of the road if I have not established a relationship to him. I can't go over there and say, man, you gotta get your pants up on you. Nobody wants to see your drawers. I can't say it. I haven't earned that right to say that.
Look out.
So, but if I'm in a relationship to him, I can walk up to him, put my arm around him and say, look, you know what? It doesn't bother me, but it's an indictment on you. Don't do this for me. Do it for yourself. Just think about it. When people see you, they'll be more inclined to help
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
If you could just pull the pants up just a few inches.
Yes, sir.
You know, somebody think, you know what, I can help this brother. But somebody down here, man, he's got something going on. I can't do anything about it. So, speaking of trust, what happens when people have ears and they can hear? But if you're establishing a relationship where it has to go beyond that, what about an animal that can get 15 feet long and weigh 150, 200 pounds? Where do you establish that relationship, establish that trust? An animal that can't hear. That process is called classical conditioning.
It's called what?
Classical conditioning.
Okay.
Classical conditioning means that there's continuity, there's consistent behavior, which is all good. Zero negativity. What that produces is trust. That's what that produces. Give you an example of what I'm talking about. Now, I brought with me young Midas.
That ain't
This is Midas. Okay. Now, is Midas a wild animal? No, he's not. He is not. But is he a domestic animal? No. Midas is not a domestic animal either. He is probably labeled as captive, born and raised. He's probably a 5 to 10 generation captive. Okay, now something that Midas does not have is ears. Imagine that. So, to communicate with him, you have to, what? You have to earn his trust. And how do you do that? By the way you manage him. Okay, that's a headshot there. And if you'll look behind them eyes and see if you see an ear somewhere on that animal. No ears. No ears. So that's how we have to communicate with men outside the church. They have no ears because they don't want to hear who you are. They want to see who you are. How do you convey that? By being reach out. They want to see what you do. Rem Powell, you see any ears on that animal?
No.
So it's got to be managed. People could be managed the same way because at 150 pounds, 200 pounds, you got a whole lot more animal than you have man. Jeffrey? See his head? Okay, look behind his eye. Just smooth. So, when we're out there, what's going to be viewed in indictment on our character is our actions. And so, just like this little animal here. Now, he is, yep, that was his head right through the hand. See that? See, that's where it's at. See, because you earn that trust. Brother Powell, I had a guy come up to me and said, Frank, this is going to be obscure, but I've got a snake question for you. I almost got bit by my python the other day. I said, how'd that happen? Well, I had a guinea pig in this hand. He was alive. and I opened the cage, and he rose up, and he slammed that glass, and I dropped the guinea pig, had to catch him again. I said, why on earth are you feeding him a live guinea pig? What do you eat that's alive? Well, nothing. I said, but you eat animals. Isn't it cooked, prepared, or something? I said, take that animal. You're earning the trust now of an animal that you've got incarcerated as a pet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take that same guinea pig and either do one or two things. Generally, the way we feed animals is we buy frozen food, just thaw it out to room temperature. It takes away the aggression. The animal does not have to kill before it eats. It eats a meal just like you do. When you eat your food, I kind of peeked over there at you. I didn't see you take your fork in. You took your fork in. That's what you did. But if you got an animal that's an apex predator and put a live animal, you don't have no problem dispatching it. But you may be part of the dispatch at some point in time if you're not careful. So, but getting back to the serious part where people are concerned, you always want to handle a person just like the scriptures we read in a manner where when we had our little conference over there, Elder Williams said that in Galatians, it tells you how to manage people. You don't treat them like they treat you. You treat them the way that you want to be treated.
You preaching now.
He just said it.
You preaching. You preaching.
So, going forward, I like to leave one final scripture, because Reverend Hampton said make it short, to leave people time to ask questions if need be. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave this with you. Okay. And that scripture reads like this. It's in Proverbs. It's chapter 27, verse 17. It reads, iron sharpens iron.
Right.
One man sharpens another. So, that's all I got. Anybody got anything for me? Reverend Hampton? Okay, now, Reverend Hampton, you're looking at Midas. Okay. That's another reason he's here, because he's a distraction. But so is life. We all have things that are priorities, at least in our minds. But those priorities can compromise our ability and our desire to reach out to other people.
Yes, sir.
If we're that distracted.
Yes, sir.
So, it's food for thought. Because this is life happening right here. Midas is doing the only thing he can do is be a snake.
All right now.
So, the other part of the equation is what we do. Let's be ourselves.
When
Man,
they stated that iron sharpen iron and man sharpen man, what does that mean?
okay, that's a good question. In that particular scripture in Proverbs, what that means is that there's a downside to that. If iron sharpens iron, one blade against the other, then one man can better the other.
That's right.
Equip,
Ma'am?
I just said,
So one man can better another.
Right.
Grandpa used to describe us as a people like a bucket of crabs. By the time that crab gets to the top of that bucket, when the crab's down below, grab him and pull him back down. If we were exemplifying or promoting the scripture, what we would be doing as a crab is pushing that crab back up so that he could get out.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey, what you got, man? Got anything? So, Reverend Hampton, what do you think? In this saga, this animal is a Burmese python.
A what?
A Burmese python. He is indigenous to, or native to Southeast Asia. Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, in that area. Okay, python is a Greek name. Python was, in Greek mythology, Python was a villain. He attacked the people and the cattle in Delphi. And he was hired by Hera, Zeus's wife, to torment Leah. Leah was a goddess that was having a set of twins by Zeus. And so when Hera found out she had Python to torment her, and she survived and had twins. Those twins were named Apollo and Artemis. Artemis was a girl, Apollo was the god of the sun. Apollo was also the god of religious ritual and purification. Apollo stopped everything to chase Python. And he slew Python, killed him at Delphi, and set up an oracle in his honor,
You gonna get hurt.
which stood for 1,000 years. But there again, that's why he's here. Because Python was a distraction in many lives. And so even Apollo, being the god of religion and the god of ritual purity, he dropped everything to pursue life. Never mind what I'm the god of. Let me go find Python and take care of that.
So you're saying why men are not in church because they're distracted from other things?
Not so much them, because the world is doing what the world does. The distraction may be with us because we all work, we all have families, and just need to take time out to go pursue those guys. We don't know what they're doing. We only know what we're doing.
Okay.
And if they're not at church, then we need to bear some of the fault, some of the blame.
So what I'm hearing you say as I deal with this video, this is unbelievable this morning. I'm so glad I stayed. So as you deal with Midas here, Midas was very interesting to illustrate what as it relates to men.
Exactly. Because Midas was a prime candidate, because Midas has no ears. And so I have to communicate with Midas through other means. It's all about treatment here. And conditioning, that classical conditioning, which is classical conditioning means that there's comprehensive good treatment, just constantly. No delineation from it. It's always the same. I just believe that Hampton, that where other men are concerned, if we handle them and manage them in a way that they did not have ears, it was just treatment. I believe we can move more
What you
back.
think? That's deep, bro. I'm sorry. That's deep, man. That's deep. Handle them as if they did not have ears.
That's it.
That's deep. That's deep. Real deep. Oh my God, that's deep.
And you see how aggressive Midas is, right? Okay. That's classical conditioning. Brother Powell, I'll tell you what I do whenever I'm studying or reading my Sunday school or whatever. I go there, I flip Midas's cage open, and I put him some food over there on the floor. So when he comes down, crawls around, scouts around, he go over there and eat his food. Now, if I'm not feeding him at this particular time, I sit there and I'll read, look at a book, or watch TV in my little man cave. And I just feel something on my leg. I've laid him down maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. He's crawling back to me, crawling back up in my lap. So that's not really something that this type of animal does. They do not have the type of retention that animals do that's higher up on the phylogenetic scale. Their stuff is all instinctive. And so because it's instinctive, they have that built-in defense mechanism that if anything changes, they change. So that's another reason why I brought young Midas with me. The reason I call him young Midas, this animal is probably just judging by some of his features that he's probably about a year and a half in age. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Excellent.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you staying on.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Awesome song. Awesome song. Wow. Outstanding.
You got it.
Hello.
You got it up.
Wow.